It never occurred to me that I would be writing on this site, but I am in need of some insight regarding a situation that has become quite heated, quite literally. The use of a flamethrower is a less conventional approach to cooking that I, 28 years old, have recently begun to experiment with. You may think I'm insane, but I want you to hear me out. It was a few months ago when I came across a video on YouTube in which someone was using a flamethrower to cook a steak. I couldn't help but be immediately captivated by its stunning appearance. Cooking and experimenting in the kitchen have always been two of my favorite things to do, so I thought, why not give something fresh and interesting a shot? The flamethrower that I purchased was a tiny commercial model, and I began experimenting with it in my garden after purchasing it online. First, it was just something I did for pleasure. Using it, I would prepare steaks, burgers, and even some veggies in the kitchen. Unexpectedly, the outcomes were quite favorable. Because of the extreme heat generated by the flamethrower, the food was able to acquire a distinctive char and flavor characteristics that were not possible with a conventional grill or hob. When I started using the flamethrower more frequently, I found that I couldn't stop using it. I believe that I had perfected the flamethrower to the point that I could bring it inside after playing with it for a few weeks. As long as I was careful, my flatmate Jake, who is 27 years old, was initially a little skeptical, but he didn't say much about it. In order to prevent any mishaps from occurring, I made certain to maintain a fire extinguisher close by and to take safety measures. The flamethrower became the primary method of preparation for all of my meals. You name it, I was flamethrowing it. I was doing it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It eventually became my hallmark cooking approach, and I even started uploading videos of my culinary creations to the internet on the internet. It was well received by my followers, and I was able to cultivate a tiny but devoted fan base. Up until approximately a month ago, everything was doing really well. Due to the fact that Jake was hosting a small gathering for his friends, I made the decision to demonstrate my ability to cook using a flamethrower. In order to caramelize the sugar that was on top of the creme brulee that I was creating for dessert, I was using the flamethrower. Prior to the flame getting a little too close to the curtains, everything was going swimmingly until the curtains caught fire. Panic broke out as a result. I quickly got the fire extinguisher and was able to put out the fire before it spread, but not before it caused some damage to the curtains and a little amount of smoke damage to the kitchen. Jake's buddies were completely taken aback, and it was easy to understand why Jake was so angry. He claimed that I was acting irresponsibly and putting the well-being of everyone in jeopardy. But ever since that time, Jake and I have been experiencing a tight relationship. In spite of the fact that he has requested that I refrain from using the flamethrower inside, I do not understand why I should be required to give up something that I take pleasure in and have become very proficient at. Even though I have taken further precautions to ensure safety, such as removing anything that could catch fire and ensuring that I have a number of fire extinguishers on hand, Jake is still not satisfied. But the previous week we had a significant disagreement on it. The statement that I was being self-centered and irresponsible was made by Jake, who stated that he would have to look for a new place to live if I did not stop using the flamethrower inside. Well, I informed him that he was exaggerating the situation and that I was in complete command of the situation. At this point, I am going to turn to you and ask you a question. Am I an idiot for preparing all of my meals with a flamethrower? I believe that it is a fun and original method of preparing food, and I have taken precautions to guarantee that it is safe to use. Nevertheless, Jake believes that I am acting irresponsibly and putting everyone in the flat in danger. Since the beginning of my experience with the flamethrower, I have only ever used it in the great outdoors. Neighbors were intrigued, but for the most part, they were amused. There were even a few occasions when Jake came to join me and we would have cookouts in the backyard where I would demonstrate my new cooking method. After I had refined the technique and gained greater self-assurance, I made the decision to bring it inside after I had completed it. Making the switch to cooking with an indoor flamethrower was a significant endeavor. In addition to making sure that the kitchen was ready, I conducted a lot of study on risk management. I got rid of anything that could catch fire. I purchased a fire extinguisher of superior quality, and I even put a smoke detector that was designed exclusively for the kitchen area. In my mind, I had eliminated all of the potential dangers. In order to keep track of my flamethrower culinary exploits, I started posting them on social media. My movies on YouTube showed me preparing a wide variety of dishes, ranging from steaks to veggies to desserts. This resulted in an increase in my popularity among my fans. The use of a flamethrower in the kitchen was not merely a tactic, it was also developing into a brand. I started receiving requests for recipes as well as requests for live demonstrations. From his initial skepticism, Jake eventually developed concern. It was common for him to comment on the lingering odor of smoking in the flat as well as the possible dangers that were present. The situation was dismissed by me, and I reassured him that everything was under control. Nevertheless, the strain was increasing. Over the course of one weekend, Jake's buddies came over, and I made the decision to impress them with my creme brulee made with a flamethrower. The thrill of the situation combined with my desire to flaunt my abilities caused me to make a mistake in judgment. In a matter of seconds, the curtains were engulfed in flames since the flame traveled too close to them. Suddenly, what was supposed to be a fun party trick turned out to be a potentially hazardous fire. Almost immediately after the fire was put out, Jake's friends left and he confronted me about my risky behavior. He had every reason to be outraged, and he pointed out that the circumstance could have been much further from ideal. Although I felt guilty, I also felt defensive. Despite the fact that I had put a lot of work into making the flamethrower frying machine safe, it still ended up causing an accident. The disagreement that I had with Jake was passionate. I was accused of being self-centered and reckless, according to him, because I was more concerned with my newly acquired internet celebrity than with the security of our home. I responded by stating that I had taken all of the necessary safeguards and that the fire was an accident that only happened by chance. The tension remained high since neither of us backed down from our position. Jake issued a challenge to me stating that he would either move out of the house or cease using the flamethrower inside. I was completely taken aback. Despite the fact that I did not want to part ways with my best friend and flatmate, I also did not want to give up something that I had become a distinct interest and that I had started enjoying. I experienced a sense of confinement. In the following several days, I reflected on the circumstances that had occurred. Is it true that I was acting recklessly? Following Jake's point of view, I went back and reviewed the safety precautions that I had already put into place. Despite the fact that I had taken precautions to protect everyone's safety, I came to the realization that the risk was still considerably high and the occurrence had shaken everyone's sense of security. I made the decision to solicit feedback from my family and friends. The majority of them agreed with Jake and were of the opinion that cooking with a flamethrower inside was too risky, regardless of the measures that were taken. It was advised to me by a few friends that I find a method to compromise, such as limiting my use of the flamethrower to the outdoors or to a confined area.